Hello and welcome to another audio analysis. In today's video we'll be taking a look at the track No Thank You for the Music by the English punk rock and folk musician Frank Turner. This is the first song to be released from his upcoming 10th studio album. He did opt to release it on his 42nd birthday, and he's an artist that is very much inspired by his views on the world and just his personal life, and that really comes through in a lot of his music. His previous album, Frank Turner Hardcore, was his first album to actually top the UK album charts. He'd come so close on 4 previous occasions with his 4 previous albums to that, reaching 2, 2, 3 and 3. So really deserving of this final chance to actually top the UK charts, because as a musician, he is an incredibly hard-working guy. Probably one of the biggest hard workers that you can probably come across. I mean, over the course of the global pandemic, he did a series of live streams playing all of his albums all the way through, raising money for a variety of grassroots and independent venues across the course of the UK to help them along when they were shut. They weren't making any money, they were losing money, and it allowed many of them to survive because of his generosity. And he's also someone who puts a lot of effort into his touring. He has his never-ending tour of everywhere. He logs almost every single gig that he's done. He's done something like 2,700 shows up to this point. He's also done things such as his 51 states in 50 days over in America. It just really shows how hard-working he is as a musician, and he really puts a lot of effort into almost everything that he does in the musical world. So will this latest track have you saying thank you for the music, or will it be unwelcome to your ears? Let's take a look at exactly how it sounds.
I don't want to be in any gang that you're in. I refuse to take part in gatekeeping people's art. Now I'm surprised to report that as I enter my 40s I've returned to being an angry man. I can see clearly now that the drugs wore off. Some kinds of music, just some part of the plan. With the computer malfunctions and red grudging concessions, we occasionally broke into the house. Just because trouble like us comes and calling doesn't mean there was a place to sit down. No thank you for the music that seamlessly fits into the plan. The sound of a culture that gave up for pretending it was anything more than a scam. And I don't want to be in any gang that you're in. I refuse to take part in gatekeeping people's art.
So this is actually a song all about defiance, the rejection of mainstream culture, pride in the underground, and staying angry as he does enter into his 40s, as we do see that actually mentioned in the lyrics. And it's a really interesting thing because he is somebody that very much really wants to kind of continue to show that expression, that creativity, and he wants to see that in other artists. I don't want to be in any gang that you're in. He doesn't want to kind of conform to this culture that we have, this cookie cutter culture where everyone's trying to do the same thing and copy off one another and sound so alike. He wants to see a bit of variety in the music of the world, and we do see kind of this idea of gatekeeping. We do see a lot of things like the charts where, especially now with streaming and things like that, you do see maybe an artist's full album, all of their songs from one album featuring in the UK top 40, things like that, making it very difficult for these smaller bands to actually get a kind of grasp and kind of get that notoriety they maybe deserve for writing some incredible music. I refuse to take part in gatekeeping people's art, so I really like that. Again, really just showing that kind of that we have certain elements of media that can really choose what becomes popular and what doesn't. It's that viral sensation where one song can be really popular on something like TikTok and that skyrockets it, and then everybody copies it, and then suddenly you have a whole clone army almost of things doing the same thing, where he wants to continue to be very expressive, and he's done that throughout the course of his 9 albums up to now and into this 10th one. And I really like how he's just kind of again showing that personal message that comes through on a lot of his music. Now I'm surprised to report that as I enter my 40s I've returned to being an angry man, and we've seen him go through different phases. We've seen softer things such as The Way I Tend to Be, recovery from his album Tape Deck Heart in 2013. We've also seen with Frank Turner Hardcore really him going to those more aggressive elements that he really does love to bring across, but it's something that works very well for like punk rock. You look at bands like the Dropkick Murphys, that aggressive tone of the voice, that really kind of almost husky kind of deeper tones really do help to come across, and that idea with that refrain that we do have at the start of that inclusiveness of kind of his own gang almost, of doing his own thing, but that aggressive in your face kind of tone. I like that with the music video as well, the way he's done that. But through computer malfunction functions and rare grudging concessions, we occasionally broke into the house. And that's a really clever lyric because, as I mentioned before, his first album of 9 did go to the top of the UK charts, and suddenly he was kind of playing ball with a lot of the big names, and he broke it just because it was a rare grudging concession. He kind of did it for the first time, but he didn't want to be part of that house. He wasn't effectively allowed to be there. Didn't have a place to sit down. He was there temporarily, and then he was kind of removed because he was the trouble that came a calling. He brought something different to the chart, so I really do like him bringing that in. And this idea of no thank you for the music. Again, I don't want to be part of this culture. I'm appreciating what I do myself, but I don't want to kind of fit in to this general plan, these ideas that you kind of have to have your music controlled, where he wants to produce his own thing. So all of these elements are really coming across very cleverly to really just show the exact message he wants to bring across on this track so far.
Time telling flies that honey tastes better than shit. No thank you for the music that seamlessly fits into the plan. The sound of a culture that gave up on pretending it was anything more than a scam. No thank you for the music that effortlessly fits the aesthetic. The sound of a culture that's resigned to its own being little more than an aesthetic. And I didn't give a shit about where I could sit cafeteria at my school. And now that I'm grown, I'm not about to condone paying attention to what's supposed to be cool. And the effort that you put into trying to look bored of yourself just makes you look like a fool. As for all the hangers on the desperate and badly drawn, all the bad, the forgettables, the cowardly contemptibles, no thank you, 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 no thank you.
I really love these very simple builds that we do see. It's that repetition, that really just getting people all riled up and wanting to kind of bring them to his cause, to what he's trying to convey. And I love some of the lyrics we do have in that second verse. It's just really this idea of bees shouldn't waste their time telling flies that honey tastes better than shit. It's this idea that kind of we do have groups that kind of tie themselves to one particular genre and they won't move away from the mainstream, things like that. So you have this honeypot of really untapped music almost that many people don't get to hear, but the people that enjoy that shouldn't waste their time trying to pull people to their side. Just kind of almost let everybody enjoy their own styles of music, and everyone has a different opinion. Some people really appreciate one genre and hate another, but don't go around just kind of trying to pull people to kind of change their views on music. Just let them enjoy what they enjoy, because although not every piece of music is particularly great, it all has its own creative form. So I really kind of like how he's still bringing that message across of that universal appeal of just really not trying to gatekeep, again, this idea of not gatekeeping music, allow people to listen to what they want to, don't try and force your opinions onto other people, even if that music may not be particularly fantastic, that somebody, if maybe you've got a friend that really just enjoys some very weird and wacky stuff that doesn't sound great, but just allow them to enjoy it. So very clever, again, just showing that, but by rejection of the systematic fleecing of the underground. So I kind of like this idea of him, again, just sticking with these independent venues, these underground bands, and really kind of just seeing himself as one of that kind of club, not kind of trying to be in the mainstream gang. He's not trying to be one of the cool kids. He'd rather be this weirdo in the cafeteria at the school that just sits wherever he wants. He can kind of flow between the two and just have his own just ability to roam free. And now that I'm grown, I'm not about to condone paying attention to what's supposed to be cool. I'm not really going to look at what's really doing very well in the charts at the moment and try and copy that style. I'm going to continue to do what I do best.
Count me out of the game, my teeth are too long, here's hoping that the kids have fangs to chew their way through this little Gordian knot and leave the gatekeepers to go hang. I don't want to be in your gang. 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 I never did. I never did.
Yeah, certainly another little fun showing coming from Frank Turner. He certainly does love to bring that punk rock style across, and again just show a very simple message and really bring it across about his love of independent music and just his expressiveness and his creativity for what he wants to show. And it really kind of gets you on board. It's that kind of gets you a bit riled up. If you're someone that supports these very small bands, it's easy to really get on board with the message he's trying to convey. And I'm sure many people have seen it. The kind of how we do see this one style really ruling the roost every single year. We kind of see that kind of particular standout star almost that is really just able to dominate. And again, just it ties in with multiple different things. How you've got certain artists or fans even maybe gatekeeping other people out of a particular style, or certain bands that can get one bit of bad rep and a bit of bad press, and then all of a sudden everyone's jumping on that same bandwagon and trying to be the same very much. Or we've got plenty of up and coming artists that are really just changing their sound and their style to suit what's popular at the moment, rather than creating something that they feel should be quite real. And we do see that with a lot of tracks these days, very cookie cutter, and the idea that often they don't convey a message. There's not that personal effect and that personal touch that really comes through on them, and a lot of them can sound the same. We've seen kind of a particular beat over 2023 be the ruling force, and maybe half the songs had the exact same beat, but it was what people clung on to and people began to copy it. So again, I just love his focus on really just being expressive, being creative, and just continue to put out the music that he feels is right, and continue to promote the smaller bands and kind of give them a voice in the music scene. So that will be everything for today's video, but as always, feel free to let me know your thoughts about this track in the comments section below. How do you feel it lives up to some of its other songs from his discography if you've heard him before? And if you haven't heard of Frank Turner before, I would highly recommend checking out some of his other albums. Certainly Tape Deck Heart from 2013 with songs such as Recovery and The Way I Tend to Be, just a couple off there. Or his most recent album in the form of Frank Turner Hardcore, the one that did top the UK charts, and allow him to kind of throw a few punches with some of the big names in music and just kind of have a bit of a fight with some of the people in the charts, but still some great songs on there, again showing many of these elements that he does love to bring across in his music, some very strong messaging. I would certainly love to know your thoughts. Also, if you'd like to see more content like this, then please do feel free to subscribe, and I will see you in the next Audio Analysis.